Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Mike Capuzzi is in the house. I love the last name, Mike. I was a guest on your show last year, and you were a great host. So please share with people right off the bat, because I want to make sure that I give you the space to share about your show.
Well, first of all, Mitch, thank you. And
yes,
you were on the previous version of my podcast last year, The Author Factor, and
yep.
I was very happy to have you on because I've known of you. I remember reading your content, and I think it was the Dan Kennedy newsletter.
For 3 years, I wrote a column. Yeah.
Ages ago, it seems like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I've known of your abilities and skill sets for a long time. So it was an honor to interview you and connect with you last year. So Mitch, I've, like yourself, right? A marketing guy. I've done it on my own after leaving corporate America in 1998. Found Dan Kennedy, which is how I found you, and have just been helping people primarily with marketing over the years, small business owners, a lot of Main Street local business owners, helping them leverage, direct response marketing, et cetera. But I'd say for the last, 7 or 8 years, have just focused on books and helping entrepreneurs, business owners, and corporate leaders write short books. We'll talk about that. Books that take about an hour to read, and we'll talk about the benefits of those. But helping them really, create their authority, their expertise, and really help others through the power of a published book.
Well, I'm going to have a part A and B question. And people who come onto this show, the Amazing Authorities, you're clearly an authority with this because of the amount of, I'm looking at all those books behind you.
Yeah, they're not all my books.
No, I get it. Not all yours. You've written quite a few yourself. How many exactly?
Up to, I think I'm at 20 now.
20. Okay. That's a lot. And the international bestsellers, I noticed there were also were in there. A couple of them are international bestsellers. It's not an easy feat. That means 2 countries for the people who are listening. 2 countries in the top 10 of Amazon for certain categories. So that's great. Who should and who should not write a book and/or shook, which is your term of art? Let's call that for the shorter book.
Right. Shook is short, helpful book, and we can talk more about that. But that's an interesting question. So let's start with who should not write a book.
Good.
In my opinion,
Sure.
Of course.
Sure. And I'm going to weigh in on it.
I would say, anybody who's thinking they're going to steal someone else's content or idea, and I know your listeners don't fall in that category, but someone who's essentially doing it for nefarious reasons. And unfortunately, there's people out there. I've had my own books stolen and republished on Amazon. It's crazy how that works.
Oh, wow.
I would say anyone who's truly not a knowledgeable expert, whatever that may mean, but someone who hasn't really walked the walk yet, right? So maybe, let's say they want to write a book on Facebook advertising, but they've never really done anything. Well, yes, could you write a book? Yes. Does it mean you should? No. And then the other thing I would say, Mitch, is someone who should not write a book is someone who truly is not so much focused about helping, because really, in my opinion, a book is meant to be helpful. You are meant to change a reader's life, help them, teach them something. And if that's not your main desire, if your main desire is, I simply want to make a couple bucks or whatever it might be, that's probably not the best person.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask, you've heard the expression, you're in the business, everybody's got a book inside them. I don't agree with that. What's your thought on it?
It depends. I think most of the people that you and I bump into and have bumped into, the local physician, the local dentist, the consultant, the coach, whoever, the CEO of a company, those people, those men and women probably do have a book in them. And we're not necessarily talking, and we're not talking fiction, because that's a whole other category.
Correct.
We're not
nonfiction.
We're talking nonfiction, something on a specific content, not even a memoir necessarily. So, I've always said, Mitch, I've helped so many people over the years write short books. I haven't helped someone like a pizza shop owner, for example, but I've joked around and said, well, maybe even a pizza shop owner could write a short book and should have a short book. I could make a case for that individual to potentially have a little book that is, in his restaurant or her restaurant, and it tells the story of the recipes, et cetera. But I think most people that are in the business of helping others, either through products or services, probably have the opportunity to have a book published.
All right, you mentioned a dentist, and I used to have a big direct mail program for dentists nationwide with probably a mutual friend, Ed O'Keefe, years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked with him, and I had like 150 dentist offices, all regionally covered. Should the dentist who is not the principal or the partner write a book? Or do you think it's most important for the business owner to write a book? That's where I was getting about. Is it a leverageable tool for credibility for the business owner, hence the managing partner of a law firm? I think each lawyer should have one to establish, my opinion. But a dentist who works in there, who's an employee, has no aspiration to own his own dental practice, is he or she a candidate?
Again, very interesting question. You got me thinking about that one, because it's interesting you mentioned the lawyers, because we've had the owners of law firm practices want to publish a shook, but they want to publish it in the name of one of their junior partners, for example, that person's going to focus on this area of, let's say, law practice.
Sure.
We've had that happen several times. Same with financial advisors, as a matter of fact. Dentists, we've worked with a bunch of dentists over the years. I would say that in that case, from the owner of the practice, I would want my name on the book with. So let's say I was the owner of the practice, you were the junior dentist, if you will. I would probably recommend that the owner say it's a book by Mike Capuzzi and Mitch Carson, for example. However, if Mitch Carson has developed a proprietary method of doing something or has a unique background in what you are able to do, I could see the dentist, the owner, supporting that dentist in publishing a book. But it's an interesting one. So I could go both ways on that.
Yeah, well, I could see how this could work, and I had no idea we were going to go down this path. But let's say the practice is endodontics, which is root canals, the person who does the root canals. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they have to refer out to a periodontist, which is an oral specialist. The periodontists usually don't own a practice. They go practice to practice, or they're only employed by one dental office, the endodontics, which is more common than using a perio. So the perio may want to have a book or be part of it, contribute to the main owner's book. Same maybe holds true for the lawyer.
Absolutely. And I pulled all kinds of books off the bookshelf today just to even bring up. But ironically, I have one from a dentist.
Okay.
One of our first shooks from years ago. Unfortunately, this gentleman passed away, this dentist. But he wrote a short book called Are Your Teeth Toxic? And his specialty was removing mercury and not using fluoride, like biological dentistry. And it's a very unique thing. Very, very, very.
They call it holistic dentistry, I think.
Holistic, yep. Biological dentistry, yep. Here's what he did with that, though, Mitch, which is kind of what you're suggesting. Now, it was his own practice, but what he did. Now, let's play this out for a moment, because I think you and I will geek out on this, especially because we were talking health earlier. He was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. What kind of readers, in your opinion, so I'm going to interview you for a second, what kind of readers, what is the target sort of demographic, are interested in potentially removing their mercury, the silver amalgams in their teeth, are really interested in holistic dentistry? What kind of profiles would you think would be those types of readers?
That would follow, well, people that wear Birkenstocks, because they're all about that, and maybe yoga practitioners. So they're all about the natural and organic. People that shop at Whole Foods.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's the profile. Probably don't use underarm deodorant. And they're into yoga and or retreats and silent retreats. They're into naturopathic medicine, which would be a corollary to this, because every naturopath I've spoken, I used to have a program for naturopaths years ago in Australia, and they all told me, oh, you've got to pull your teeth and come back in and be organic. It's like,
nice.
you know how much money I've got in my mouth? You know, they were pushing that. So people who have that mindset, it may not be the taxi cab driver who's chewing tobacco and spitting and eats pizza every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Not the target demographic. That would be my first
probably not
instinct.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So his name was Kevin Flood. Again, unfortunately, he passed away. He was a client of mine for years. What Kevin did after he published that Shook, he took copies and had a little sign. I have the sign still. It said "Free book, take one," and he placed them in yoga studios in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in health food stores, in gyms, anywhere where he thought, just like you thought, anywhere where he thought his target reader / potential patient would be hanging out, see that book, grab a copy for $4 or $5, whatever it cost him to have that out there. And Mitch, I remember when he told me after the first 30 days of doing this, and again, this is years ago, he got 3 new patients that he believes he would have never gotten otherwise, that were each worth multiple thousands of dollars to him. So that's that power of a book, and then getting that book, to your point, in front of other people that should see it.
I mean, that's the demographic. It's not the local bar. They don't care about that. They're punching their teeth out each Friday night. They've got bridges. They're not going to pay attention to it. Yeah. So I think that makes sense. Well, it's their old message to market match.
Absolutely.
Very true. So now you help people write books, and you said you help quite a few. You've done how many over the years? You've been at this focused in the book category, assisting others write their own books. You're their book coach, essentially.
Essentially.
And how has ChatGPT affected what you do?
Well, I think there's been some good, and as like anybody would probably say, good and bad, in my opinion. The good is for brainstorming ideas, for coming up with potential book titles, things that require, some thought and a lot of variations. It's very good at that, right? As long as you feed it good prompts and good content, which is only getting better day by day.
Yeah.
I've found, and I don't know what your thought is on this, I have found ChatGPT, which is the one I use, to be an amazing sort of business partner. I mean, the idea of searching for information anymore is over. The idea of having a conversation with ChatGPT and I was just visiting my 83-year-old dad a couple of weeks ago, Mitch, in Florida. And I showed him ChatGPT because he's very much into health and wellness at his age.
Okay.
And he's always, Googling ideas and looking at YouTube videos. I'm like, Dad, start asking chat questions and go deep with those questions. So the output can be very good. So I think for brainstorming, could it be used for content? Yes, it could be. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. That's up to each individual. But could you write a book, which would have taken you maybe weeks or months, in a matter of a couple hours? Yes, probably. Would it be as good? I don't know. From the negative standpoint, Mitch, I would say I think people are getting too reliant on it. I think it's making a lot of people flabby and lazy. I know sometimes I use it more than I probably ought to. I'm not, writing copy all the time from a straight blank page like I used to.
Oh gosh, me too. Did it for years.
And I think you got to be careful of accuracy and all that stuff. But I think it definitely, in my opinion, is more of a positive tool, and used correctly, it's an asset.
Well, you've stated that you used the right word. It's a tool. It has just shortened the process. It still requires a human brain. And if you have to prompt it to not unlock the potential, all these little AI cliches, so observable for those of us that use ChatGPT, and I use it every day. We're talking about the health side, so I use it. So I think book authors have to be cautioned, but I think Amazon has now rid their condition. You can have
really?
AI. Well, from what I understand, it's there. You just have to disclose it when you upload it. Is any portion of it? Yeah, you disclose. You just tick the box. You don't have to put it on the front of the book. AI generated. Who's going to know?
I will say, Mitch, one of the things, if you have not experimented, and it's amazing, is doing an audio version of your book, which is a pain in the butt, right? I don't know if you've ever done an audio version.
I have not.
It's a pain. It's not fun or easy. I've done it myself. I've paid others to do it in their voice, professional voiceover actors. But you can now clone your voice, and you can now have it read in your voice with not a lot of tweaking, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's that. And that is another, when you're talking about cart value, when you're selling your books, if you sell a companion workbook, if you sell an audio book, hardcover, softcover, Kindle, some people are prolific buyers. They're raving fans, and they'll buy one of each listening to the car, especially a Shook, which is your expertise. Do you advise your authors to create an audiobook in their voice or using an AI tool?
Well, the AI stuff's only been around, within the last year or so. We experimented with a client about a year ago, and Audible, which is the audiobook version of Amazon, would not allow it. They would not allow it. Now, they have changed that since. Amazon, it's ACX, the Audible books. They now have a whole AI thing that they'll do. I don't know if you can use your own, because I haven't tried this recently, or if you just have to use their AI voices, but that's relatively new in the last year. But I am always amazed, Mitch, how many people that are either clients of ours or people I interview on my podcast tell me the only format of books they use these days are audiobooks. I'm amazed at how many people tell me.
Well, it's risen. Well, there's that big app I constantly get bombarded with every day about learning and improving your English called Rise, where they're selling now. It used to be the short book summaries. Now it's the audiobook summaries they're pitching. It's a platform to sell 15-minute audiobooks.
Yep.
The abbreviated version, essentially Cliff Notes from when we were in college.
Yep.
It's the audiobook Cliff Notes. So they're moving with the time. And I think ACX possibly was forced to comply with AI.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Was
it market pressure?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Like, it's sort of dumb when you think about it, especially like if it's your book and you don't have a studio, or you don't want to spend $5,000 going into a studio and taking multiple days. Oh, that's
crazy.
Yeah. Right. So yes, I think it's exactly what you just said. They sort of just realized it is here and it's not going away.
Well, let's walk through, what does Mike Capuzzi offer clients? And you mostly get your clients because you've written 20 books now, and they come through your lead magnets out of your books from your, okay. So they come in, and what's the process?
So the first thing is, just one step back, is, the type of book that I recommend.
Sure.
And with your permission at the end, I'm going to give away to your listeners.
Absolutely.
But these are short books, Mitch. These are books that take about 60 to 90 minutes to read for the average reader. Okay. They're not these bloated books. You and I both know what we're talking about as far as what I call these bloated books that are 300 pages, and they could be 100 pages. They follow a very specific recipe, right? So I'm Italian in descent. I like to cook. I like to eat. In honor of my Italian grandmother, I have a recipe for a Shook, literally from the front cover. So here's another Shook. This is a physician, a doctor, who helps men with hair loss. Literally from front cover to back cover, and everything in between has a specific place, a specific focus, and a specific goal. So that is a format that I've created. I've used over the years. It works very well. Someone might be thinking, well, geez, can you really help somebody with a 100, 120 page book? whose word count is maybe 15,000 words, whereas the typical business book is 100,000 words? The answer is absolutely, absolutely you can. You just have better content because you're more focused. B, if in the case, Mitch, where someone does need a 300-page book because their topic is so broad, my recommendation is publish 3 100-page books. It gives you more opportunity for marketing, more opportunity for specificity. So the readers can choose which books, but it also, I've read many of these books behind me, but many of them I've started and never finished. I'm just like, oh my gosh, get to the point, or why are you repeating this? And
voluminous.
So a shook is a short, helpful book. That's the first thing. And then when clients work with me, they work directly with me. I've been doing this for almost 30 years now overall, and we're figuring out the best book for their ultimate goal, to help people, but also to help their business.
So what is the process? If they come to you, they fall into your lead magnet, they reach out, hey, I want to set up a call, from start to publication to upload to Amazon KDP, what's the typical time frame?
Our world record's 23 days. And that was for someone, a client who's published many shooks with us. She had a keynote opportunity, and she's very smart. And she's like, you know what? I want to do a book for this event. I want to give a specific book away at this event because it was a big event she was keynoting at. And she has a team behind her, so she had people pulling stuff together for it, et cetera. So 23 days from when we first talked about it till she had books ready to go. So that's not typical. Typical is 8 to 12 weeks thereabouts. If the person's actually, moving along and doing what I recommend, it's taken longer, it's taken shorter, but it's not, again, you're a book author, a book can be laborious. It can take time. That's not what we're doing here.
My first book took 2 years. 2 years.
Exactly.
And it was 50,000 words, published with John Wiley and Son. I got the contract in 2006, and then it finally hit the bookstores in 2008 and 9. And I sold it well. I mean, it was good. It was pre-KDP. Different deal. Today it's so much easier.
Absolutely. And listen, that doesn't, those people, like I was just telling you about a gentleman I just had on my podcast. His book just became a New York Times bestseller, right? A legitimate one. Now, and he went through a traditional publisher, et cetera. Those kind of books, definitely a big book, big budget, big market, right? There's still that's still an avenue for a lot of people. There's a lot more people that could just self-publish or work with someone like myself to get a short book out, just to get the momentum going and starting to use it.
Well, here's the other advantage of working with you, as I see. If they come up with this 3-book series, let's say it's not 2, it's usually 3 in a series, and they dissect it, pull it out, and you're probably pulling them out. I get it. I was prompting you. Yes.
We didn't go through this, right? 3 books.
Yeah,
you and I are like kindred spirits.
Right there. Well, I know I've been in this game a long time. I mean, I know the publishing industry. I had to transition to this. What you're doing, the KDP world, is, let's think about that. If you want to become a New York Times bestseller, which is the Harvard of publishing, it's the ultimate to get there. If you have that badge,
Holy Grail.
your keynote, it's a holy grail. The keynote fee jumps to $25K minimum if you are a keynote speaker. I would rather sell from the stage any day of the week. That was my background. But if I had the badge of New York Times bestseller, oh man, I would use it very well. And it's something that nobody can take away from you. But the way to get there potentially is show your sales. Is that an avenue where you tell people then you can go up to a Penguin or a Random House?
Absolutely. And we've had people do that. It won't come as any surprise to you, Mitch. The quality of the book is not what makes a New York Times bestseller, even an Amazon bestseller, to be honest with you, right? We both know this.
Sales.
Right? It's sales. And how do you get sales? It's about who's promoting it for you. How big is, so when a traditional book publisher comes and says, listen, we're going to give you $50,000, $100,000, whatever it is, to write a book. We're not talking like big time ex-presidents or anything like that.
Right.
But they're thinking, this person, I was telling you, this gentleman who just went New York Times bestseller, He's got 300,000 Instagram followers, 500,000 people on YouTube. I mean, huge audience. That's the key. I mean, that is how, and even there, that's still not a 100% sure path to that kind of, success with your book.
Because you have to have a certain amount because of their algorithm. You have to sell in retail as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not just through your own list.
Yeah. And it's a process, and it's a in-depth process, but yeah, it can be done. It can be done.
I mean, for example, a couple of the big authors that I know of, which is, again, maybe something you graduate into, James Clear or Mel Robbins, they are categorically number one for months in their books. Yeah. Is that possible going through the Shook process to achieve that? No, it's
not New York. So, and the goal is not that, right?
No, it's not. That's why I'm just clarifying.
Right. However, becoming an Amazon bestseller and having that tag now, is that, as between you and I, we both know it's good. I've poo-pooed it for years until I actually did it very intentionally and very strategically to see if I could do it. So I wrote a book called The 100-Page Book, which has sold, well over 10,000 copies at last count. That was a while ago, I checked, but that book was a success in that that was number one, literally number one for months around the world when I published that. And it was almost like a viral thing at that point. But a Shook, your main goal with a Shook, the kind of books we publish, it's not New York Times bestseller. It may be, hey, I might want to try to become Amazon bestseller. It's not even that, Mitch. It's about, how do I get this book in front of the right people the right way so that they read it and potentially become a client or a customer. That's the focus. And I have to say to you real quick, just because you brought it up. So here's a lawyer, elder law attorney. She's written, actually there's a fourth book now, but she helps people with dementia, families that are suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's disease. So she could have done one big book on that. Instead, she has living with Alzheimer's disease, living as an Alzheimer's caregiver, living with dementia. And then she has now a fourth one, living as a dementia caregiver, because they're all slightly different. The person who has a family member suffering from dementia wants that book, not only for themselves as the caregiver, right? There's that focus, there's that message media market match, but also they need the book for the patient. So she was very smart and very strategic. The other thing that she did, if you want to talk about, is they're so successful, she now licenses these books as a co-author opportunity for other elder law attorneys to use in their practice.
Very smart. Yeah. Very smart. She still maintains the ultimate authority, and you're under her umbrella. No, that's very clever. And of course, lawyers can't practice in every state. Oftentimes the bars don't offer reciprocity. Right. So they have to but that's a nightmare to retake the bar in every state. That's a great way to keep her brand big, make money, and at the same time, she's helping her clients.
Yep.
No, that's a great.
The book licensing is a whole nother conversation, and it's, for the right person, can be very lucrative.
Tell me about case studies of people who've written these books. It's one thing to just, hey, I'm a book author, great. How have they converted that to cash? You've been doing this a while.
It's a great question. Yes, great question. So, again, only because we're on video and I like show and tell. So this gentleman who's become a friend of mine, John Frank, by the way, he was a former NFL football player. He's got a couple Super Bowl rings.
What kind of doctor?
Watching him. He focuses on hair restoration for men.
Oh, okay.
That's what he does. But he was by the way, he was the only, at the time, he was in the NFL back in the 80s. And going to med school at the same time.
Oh my gosh, brainiac!
I think a week or two after he won his second Super Bowl, he quit the NFL to become a doctor. Matter of fact, I'm trying to get him to write his memoir. Joe Montana, who you might have heard of, wrote the foreword for his Shook.
Oh my gosh!
So John uses this today to get men. Into his practice. He's been on TV, right up your alley, right? He's done the local media thing. That little Shook has turned into hundreds of thousands of dollars for his practice over the years. He's just, he hands it out. He has it in other practices where, what I call strategic partners for his business. He places it, he offers it for free. Here's another one that's kind of interesting. Again, this was a multi-set. This gentleman is a U.S. Air Force fighter pilot. Very interesting character.
Okay.
Very smart guy. And he created an anthology series, right? That's where what he did, Mitch, was, and this was all for charity. So I wanted to show you something that wasn't necessarily business focused. It's called Single Seat Wisdom. Each of these books has, 15 or 20 different fighter pilots featured. Each fighter pilot wrote a chapter on what it means to be a fighter pilot, what it means to be, goal-oriented, et cetera, et cetera. He published one a year. He published it on Veterans Day, so it was always released like around in November here in the U.S. And his only goal with this, Mitch, was to support a childhood cancer nonprofit that was very near and dear to his heart. So every dollar that he raised, and he raised a lot of money, was donated to this organization. So, those are some examples. The woman who did the Alzheimer dementia books, she's got a whole book funnel in place. She uses that book for lead gen every day. Those books for lead gen.
On Amazon. People buy them on Amazon?
No. That's no. Actually, because her books are not on Amazon, interestingly enough. No, she's controlling the everything through her own book funnels.
So she runs ads to her books. Yeah. Okay.
To a web page, to her own web page, right? So there's typically, now there are some people. That's a whole other discussion. Is should I be on Amazon? Not every person. John Frank's book is not on Amazon.
Okay, yeah. It's just strategic partnerships.
Exactly. It's the only way, and you got to be careful. There's certain reasons why you don't want your book on Amazon. And in Julie's case and John's case, it's all their own funnels.
Well, just for disclosure, you may not have known this. I've written 18 books. 15 of them were never published. No ISBN.
Yes.
They were bonuses when I sold from the stage.
Yep.
Over the years. Here was a little book. I wrote a book on podcasting back in the 90s before it was even popular.
Podcasting.
Yeah. I wrote, it was a spiral bind, the plastic bind. It was included in my direct mail kit. And because podcasting was talked about, but it was way before its time. People just looked at it. Oh, that's interesting, and set it aside. I wrote several books, never had ISBN numbers.
Yes.
And it was for that purpose. Ted Thomas, I'm going to use as an example. I've got his book right here. I want to show you this. I don't know if you knew this. You knew Ted? He was a Kennedy guy.
Oh, I got it. I got that book right behind me.
Ted, it has an ISBN number on it, and it says $95, but he claims you can't buy this unless you spend $15,000 for a consult day with him. He only gives it away as a consult day bonus. But he's got a price tag of $95 on it. How to use trial closes. So you have his book.
I do, because I was going to Ted's events. I knew Ted. I know Ted, and you probably remember this. Now we're probably going back 10, 12 years. When he published it, he wanted real reviews. So he sent me a copy. I don't know if it's in there. I don't know, but I remember sending him a review. I read it. Yeah, the trial closed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do have. I remember that. Yes. And he's got different people who wrote about it. Nina Hirschberger did. Mike Crow, Derek Gell.
I'm probably in there somewhere.
Yes, here Robert Scrobb, Rory Fatt. You are in here. Mike Capuzzi. Yes. How about that? So that was interesting. So would this qualify as a shook?
Yeah. Well, listen, a shook is, again, an intentionally short book. So yes, right. It's focused. It's mainly designed to help someone, but also to get somebody interested in working with you.
So, Mike, what kind of gifts do you have for our listeners today? Because I know you're Santa, but it's only June. But what's your Christmas gift 6 months in advance?
Well, this might. I don't know when you're releasing this, but it could be Christmas in July.
No, won't be that late.
Okay. So it's 3 shooks, Mitch. So the first one is called The Magic of Gratitude. This is something I call a gift shook. This is a short little book. It's just a series of quotes that I either from myself or that I've, appreciated from others. And it's just meant to be a little gift book. So when somebody's on my podcast, when someone does something nice to me, I literally write their name on the back cover. I let a little area there, and it's a little gift shook. So there's the magic of gratitude. There's the magic of working together. That's a shook that describes how, the people, some of the people we worked with. And then the third shook, which is one of the international bestsellers, is called The Magic of Short Books. And this book,
I bought that book.
Did you? So that shook literally tells you someone could literally take that and never talk to me or work with me and create a shook, right? That's because I believe in helping people, and that, it's a very powerful book. So the digital versions of all three of those, Mitch, I'm giving away the full books. The only thing I ask is that you let me know you heard me on Mitch's podcast. And can I give the URL for that?
Absolutely. Please do. Come on, Santa.
It's MikeCapuzzi.com/magic. I call it my magic kit. Okay. And MikeCapuzzi.com/magic. And just name an email. You're not going to get bombarded. Trust me. Let me know you heard me on Mitch's podcast. And I'll give you the links to read all three of those.
And those will be PDFs that are sent to them.
Actually, we use something called a flip format. It's something you can read on your phone, on your computer. It's a nice little format.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we don't do the PDFs.
Okay. Well, great. Any last words? What would be the motivation for Mike Capuzzi?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you said in the beginning, like who or who shouldn't. Well, let's just stay with who should. I think, again, if you are listening to this, a lot of people have always wanted to write a book, Mitch. They don't know how, they don't know how long it's going to take, how much time, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're in the business of helping others and you think being a published book author and then combining it with the services that you provide, the media exposure, and getting out in front of, the public, or our target audience, very, very powerful. I would say, not to use a cliche, but just do it. The world needs your book. There's somebody out there, Mitch, that needs your listeners' books. They need those books. They need the help. They need the guidance. They need the insights, et cetera. So just do it.
Got it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our amazing authority for today, Mike Capuzzi, who's written 20 books. He's given a great URL. You'll get him in the show notes. You get 3 gifts from Mike. He's early for Christmas, but I just want to play that. And look him up, use his services. I know many, many authors through the Capuzzi system. Use his information, hire Mike to get your book done, because that's the key. Get it done. Yeah. Before you want to become a New York Times bestseller, you gotta ride on training wheels until you get to a bigger bike. And Mike's got a proven system. Mike, it's been a great honor to have you on my show today. Thank you so much. And we will definitely interview you again in the future.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to MitchCarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.